Hello everyone, this is David Gay, and this is the 7th episode of David Needs a Job. Okay, like I said, this is my 7th episode of a video series that describes my job search, my unemployment, my experiences going through the process of applying for work, going to interviews, and the frustrations and emotions that I feel going through such a very long, harrowing period over the last 3.5 years. It also discusses or also reveals to you who are watching my feelings, suggestions, and opinions as to what we can do in order to get the unemployed people back to full-time work, be contributing members of society. Because we don't want to be in this situation. We want to be with you guys earning a buck. But I should also point out that this particular series is not my first time into social media. No. I've actually done a series of videos completely unrelated to what I'm doing now, and they are done in a different way than what I'm doing here. The other videos on YouTube and on Google are more like a me selling myself sort of thing. I'm in a three-piece suit. I'm rattling off my past work history, my qualifications. It's very scripted. It's kind of like a reverse interview. Instead of me going to an interviewer and the person asking me questions about myself, that same person is actually watching my video and getting the answers that they need before deciding whether or not an interview is even warranted. But this is completely different. The one that I'm doing now, it's from the heart, and it's basically unscripted, and it's just how I feel at the moment when I'm putting together these videos. Now, with these other videos that I talked about before, and in addition to the blog that I've done on davidallengay.wordpress.com, I get responses, and I get lots of responses. I get as much as 40, maybe even close to 45 replies a day, just from people who read my blog or watched my videos. And thankfully, the most common responses that I get are very positive, helpful, supportive. And you want to know something? That's important, because nothing gives a spiritual oomph to a job seeker more than to hear someone say, you know what, I feel sorry for you. I hope you find something. Why don't you try this? It makes you feel like you're not alone in the world. Yeah, I do get the occasional 1 out of 10 comments from people who don't read my blog or watch my video, and they say, oh, well, there must be something wrong with you if you're out of work for 3.5 years, or have you tried this, without actually watching the video or reading my blog and finding out that I, in fact, have tried this. Those people don't particularly matter. I'm focusing on those people who are being supportive and offering suggestions. And one suggestion that I get, and it's the most common suggestion that I receive, is, have I considered moving? And I'm not talking about like moving to another city. I'm talking about people telling me I should consider moving to another part of Canada, like another province, or even taking the big move and going to, say, the States or overseas, or to like Europe or the Middle East. And you want to know something? That point has been raised with me on more than one occasion, not just from friends and professional coworkers, headhunters, but from employment assistance centers and career counselors that have told me that if I can't find any work where I am right now, I should consider the very possibility of going, say, west to Alberta, because right there in the province of Alberta, everything is booming there. The economy is fantastic. The government has got its house in order. The unemployment rate is much lower than what we have here in Ontario. Well, as I said, it's been considered. And while I have always come up with a different reason every time that point and that suggestion has been considered, the answer is always still the same. It's no. And this particular video episode, I want to list to you the reasons why, for me, I have decided not to go down that route of moving to another part of the world, be it in Canada or in another country, just to find a job so I can earn a buck. the very thought of the idea of moving like a gypsy to find a job, it does not sit well with me. I mean, we are living right now in the faint echoes of what was known as the first industrial revolution. Before the first industrial revolution, there was really no such thing as a middle class. We had the rich, the powerful, the wealthy, who lived in fiefdoms and kingdoms and castles and estates. And then you had the poor schmo who had to forge his own future and his own destiny by being a journeyman, offering their services, working on a farm, working at a millwright, working in a mine, serving aboard a ship, in order just to earn their own equivalent of the medieval buck. When the first industrial revolution kicked in, all that changed. Cities grew and became centers of stability and support and infrastructure so that people did not have to do that anymore. And yes, while it did mean negative impact to those who lived in a rural lifestyle or those who worked in older forms of technology, it did increase the standard of living for everybody, because now you're in a place where things are familiar. Anything that you needed could be easily produced quickly, cheaply, and locally. And you did not have to be the gypsy journeyman in order to find a job. And we are still living in the echoes of that today, and what we know as the digital revolution, where again cities are the main source of stability and support and dependability. But you know that for that particular reason, I'm kind of bothered by that. Like, why do we even need to go back to those days again? Why do we have to start becoming gypsies again when we live in such a modern society where things are pretty much established for us? But I will get to my reasons now as to what I've come up with, why I've not decided to consider moving to find work. Okay, the first thing is, this sort of, and I will admit this is a rather dry argument, so please take a drink of water before replying, because it is that dry an argument. It's that, constitutionally speaking, it is my right not to do so. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that in Canada we have something called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That clearly is like our master law. It is the big law, whereas everything that dictates proper democratic behavior for political parties, for organizations, for corporations, all the way down to a little guy like me, all of this defines how all of us are supposed to behave in a free, open, and democratic society. That's very important. It is a law of laws. It is something that is beyond that. And one particular section of that law, which pertains very strongly to my decision not to simply chase down a job in order to find it by moving. It says here, under Section 6, and yes, I am reading from a webpage, every citizen of Canada and every person who has the status of a permanent resident of Canada has the right to pursue the gaining of a livelihood in any province. Now, what does that mean? It means that whether I decide to move or not to move is my right. No corporation, no individual, not even the government can say, well, you have to go there. You have to be here or there or everywhere else as they see fit. It is my personal choice to be where I want to be. Therefore, the job that I choose is also part of that right and freedom to choose to do. And that can never ever be disputed by anybody. It cannot be considered a wrong reason for doing. But as I said, it's a very dry argument. And there are some people who don't give a flipping hoot about the government. Can't say I blame them, considering the scandals that we have right now in all three levels of government where I live, from all the way up to the federal government to City Hall in Toronto. I can't blame people for even considering that dry argument as a sound one, because we have our politicians who are misbehaving right now. Alrighty then, let's not try from a intellectual approach as to why I feel moving to find work is not for me. Let's try to argue it from the point of the mind and the heart. We are where we are right now because of a feeling of dependability, reliability, stability. Everything that we want where we are is here. It's all local. We don't have to travel far to get it. Our fulfillments, our wishes, our desires are all fulfilled in this one area. We have friends, we have like-minded professionals who share our professional beliefs and career aspirations. We have spiritual kindred, people in religion, advisors. And yes, we may even have that special someone who we care deeply about all around us, keeping us sane, keeping us grounded, keeping us happy, keeping us well. The very idea of moving to find another job is not as easy as simply packing a suitcase and going away, unless you're a lone wolf type of person. But if you're not, understand that if you go to another area of your country or even another part of the world, that social safety net that is there for you is not coming with you. They will miss you, they will keep in contact with you, but it will not be the same as if they actually came with you. And you're not going to have that support system, especially if you're headed to a part of your country or even another country where you don't know anybody there. You will be tasked to build your own new network of friends, like-minded professionals, spiritual kindreds, and yeah, even that special someone if a long-distance relationship is not going to work. Right from the ground up, all over again. And that could take years, if not decades. And you need to have that in place before you even consider finding work, because you are going to need these people to fall back on if your aspirations to find employment where you are now located goes south.